When you meet a Sigma, you're immediately struck by their confidence, their aura of mystery, and that quiet strength that seems to draw people in. At first, it feels almost like magic. They're not the typical type to rush into a relationship or wear their heart on their sleeve. They keep things low-key, laid back, and are often content with doing their own thing. But as time goes on, you start to notice certain behaviors that begin to raise a few questions. It's subtle at first, easy to dismiss, but then the signs become clearer. And you can't help but wonder, is this something I can live with, or is it a red flag? When you're dating a Sigma, you need to understand that their unique personality comes with its own set of challenges. They're not the easiest to read, and they can sometimes make you feel like you're on the outside looking in. So, let's take a closer look at the relationship red flags you need to watch for when dealing with a Sigma, and see if any of these behaviors sound familiar to you. First, let's talk about emotional detachment. One of the biggest red flags you might encounter when dating a Sigma is their emotional distance. Now, this doesn't mean they don't care, it's just that they don't always show it the way you expect. They tend to keep their emotions hidden, not because they don't feel, but because they've learned to protect themselves. Their need for independence can sometimes make them avoid deep emotional conversations or commitments. You might feel like they're distant or closed off, and it can make you question whether they truly care about you. They're not the type to easily open up or share their vulnerabilities, and this can create a sense of emotional disconnect in the relationship. Now ask yourself, does this feel like a relationship where you can connect emotionally, or does their emotional detachment leave you feeling lost and unsure? Then there's the issue of control. It's not always obvious at first, but when you're in a relationship with a Sigma, you may begin to notice their need to maintain control over certain aspects of their life, and sometimes even yours. A Sigma values their autonomy more than anything, and they'll go to great lengths to preserve their independence. But when does this need for control become a problem? When does it turn into possessiveness or manipulation? They might not always be upfront about their intentions, but you could find yourself feeling like you're being controlled in subtle ways. Maybe they expect you to adapt to their schedule without considering yours. Or they shut down when you make decisions that don't align with their preferences. If they start dictating how you should behave or what you should do, then that's a red flag you can't ignore. Ask yourself, is this a healthy dynamic, or is this control undermining your freedom and individuality? Next, let's talk about their tendency to avoid conflict. Now, Sigma personalities tend to shy away from confrontation. And while this can sometimes be seen as a strength, it can also be a huge red flag. They don't like drama, and they'd rather keep the peace than engage in heated discussions. But when this avoidance of conflict becomes a regular pattern, it can lead to unresolved issues. You may feel like you're walking on eggshells, always afraid to bring up sensitive topics because they'll shut down or withdraw. They might ignore the problem or hope it'll just go away on its own, which creates a lot of emotional tension. This can leave you feeling frustrated and unheard. So ask yourself, can you live in a relationship where important conversations are avoided, or do you need someone who can confront issues and work through them together? Another significant red flag is their lack of empathy. While Sigma individuals are often intelligent and logical, they can struggle with showing empathy. They're not the most expressive when it comes to emotions, and this can make it seem like they don't care about how you feel. Their analytical nature can sometimes lead them to brush off your emotional needs, which can be incredibly hurtful. If you're someone who values emotional support and validation, you might find yourself feeling neglected. They might not intentionally disregard your feelings, but their inability to connect on a deeper emotional level can create a huge gap between you. You may find yourself questioning whether they truly understand or care about your emotions. So ask yourself, do you feel emotionally supported in this relationship? Or do you feel like your feelings are being ignored or dismissed? Another red flag to watch out for is their constant need for space. Now, don't get me wrong, everyone needs some time alone, but when you're dating a Sigma, their need for solitude can be extreme. They can go days without checking in, and when you try to get close, they might pull away. This excessive need for space can feel like you're being pushed out of their life, and it can make you feel unimportant if their desire for alone time overrides the time you spend together. This imbalance can create feelings of loneliness and neglect. While it's natural to need some independence in a relationship, it's important to find a balance that works for both partners. Ask yourself, can you live in a relationship where you're constantly feeling alone? Or do you need more closeness and connection? Lastly, there's the issue of their emotional baggage. Many Sigma personalities carry emotional scars from past experiences, and they may not be ready to confront them. This can lead to a lot of unresolved tension, and their inability to open up about their past can make it difficult for you to truly understand them. You might find yourself stuck in a cycle where their past continues to affect the present, and they refuse to acknowledge it. If their unresolved issues from past relationships or family dynamics continue to impact your relationship, this can create a serious barrier to growth. You may feel like you're constantly competing with ghosts of their past, and this can prevent you from moving forward together. Ask yourself, can you handle being with someone who isn't fully healed from their past? Or is this a deal breaker for you? These are just a few of the red flags you might encounter when dating a Sigma, and while some of these behaviors can be worked through, others may be too deeply ingrained to ignore. It's important to recognize these red flags and assess whether they're something you can accept, or if they're warning signs that it's time to walk away. When you're in a relationship, it's crucial to find someone who values your emotional well-being, respects your boundaries, and is willing to grow with you. So take a moment to reflect. Do these red flags feel like deal breakers? Or are they things you can work through together? The choice is yours, and only you can decide what's right for you. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share because you will learn more about how to navigate relationships in the next video. Stay tuned.